The wet plate process and other mid-19th century photographic advancements. The early 1840s were a time of explosive excitement throughout much of the West as the daguerreotype and calotype processes took hold of the curiosity of the middle class. Each process was unique, with its own advantages and disadvantages. The daguerreotype resulted in a highly detailed, very delicate image on the surface of a silver-polished copper plate. While they were in high demand for portraits, their inability to be reproduced was a drawback. Calotypes had one clear advantage. They were reproducible, making the process attractive to the masses. But the use of a paper negative in the calotype process resulted in images that lacked the fine details that you'd see in a daguerreotype. And the process was difficult to replicate, resulting in unpredictable end results. In the 1850s, the new wet plate process surfaced and supplanted both the daguerreotype and the calotype processes, making them largely obsolete by the end of the decade. But the wet plate process wasn't an entirely new process. In fact, it merged the most coveted aspects of both early processes, resulting in a highly detailed photographic image on paper that could be easily reproduced. The wet plate process is tied to a few significant advances. The first was the replacement of the paper negative utilized in the calotype process with a sheet of glass. The glass would be coated with light-sensitive chemicals and placed into a camera. The benefit of using glass rather than paper for the emulsion of a negative is that the printed positive image retained beautiful detail. Prints were being made at this time through a contact process, meaning the negative image would be laid directly on the printing material, and the light would pass through the negative to produce the positive print via contact. When paper is used for the negative, the light is blocked, and details in the final positive print get obscured. The use of glass creates a clear emulsion, allowing light to freely travel through the negative during the printing process, retaining high details. Now, the drawback, of course, is that glass is breakable. Glass negatives were precious and required great care. This is compounded by the fact that larger images became desired for specific types of pictures, like landscapes. And if a photographer's goal was to produce an image that was 16 by 20 inches in size, then he or she would be working with a 16 by 20 inch sheet of glass. Imagine processing and printing those negatives in darkness, not to mention storing them. The second significant advancement that spurred the wet plate process was the use of collodion as the chemical of choice to sensitize that glass plate. You see photographer Michael Gray here in this video produced by the British Gallery demonstrating this process. In 1849, Frederick Scott Archer discovered that collodion-coated glass plates recorded highly detailed latent images at a significantly reduced exposure time than the daguerreotype process. But Archer's process had a drawback. In order for the latent image to be recorded successfully, the glass plate needed to be placed inside a camera and exposed to light while it was still damp, hence the name wet plate process. This required a great deal of planning, and materials always had to be nearby. In fact, photographers who worked in the field were required to take mobile darkrooms with them so they could prepare their plates in darkness when they were ready to record a scene. The third major advancement wrapped up within the success of this process had to do with the paper on which images were printed. In 1850, Blanchard-Erard devised a new type of printing paper that was coated with albumin. Albumin is a substance found in egg whites, providing cheap and easily accessible materials. But the production of albumin-coated paper was lengthy and a very involved process. This hurdle was soon bypassed when the albumin paper industry emerged, capitalizing on high demand and cheap labor. In the coming decades, photography's popularity would soar, and there would continue to be experimentation with new processes. Three of them are the ambrotype, the tintype, and the carte de visite, all offering unique advantages to the photographer and patron to meet the growing demand for the photographic image. In the face of a growing photography industry, individual photographers continued to explore the artistic merits of the latest processes. The warm tone and high gloss finish of albumin prints created opportunities for artistic expression through a mechanically produced image, as well as increased opportunities to share naturalistic pictures of faraway places with people who would never have the opportunity to travel. And despite the drawbacks of the processes, photography played an important role in documenting new and unknown territories. Many cultural values that are still very much a part of our lives today began to be constructed through the taking and viewing of photographs in the mid-19th century, including the notion of photographic truth. Photographs were used by politicians to promote their agendas and increase the public's support of their candidacies. Sound familiar? They carried images of war into one's personal experiences and played a significant role in shaping the way we feel about others.